Hey, what's up you guys, it's Dorothy and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to go into chapter 8 of the game by Lindsay Miller, so I hope that you guys are ready for this video. This video may contain sensitive topics and foul language. If you do not wish to continue, I suggest you click off the video now. You have been warned. Chapter 8. In the dark alone with Abby while the 911 operator barked instructions, Leah saw eyes peering out from the darkness. She saw shadows darting toward her down the path. She saw the blood stain on Omelette's fur grow and cover him. She saw everything, none of it real. The flashing lights from the arriving ambulance didn't help. An EMT bundled Leah up in a silvery blanket and sat her on the path far from Abby. The path wasn't wide enough for cars, so they had all come running through the woods. Cutting straight across the park, the sun was only just rising, and all of them were washed in red. Abby's parents arrived as the EMT finished cleaning her knee. A detective loomed behind them. They talked to her, and she answered, but she had no idea what she said. She had no idea what they said. No, she hadn't seen it happen. No, she hadn't been running with Abby. Yes, they were playing that game, and she was stalking Abby. I was just following a little ways behind, and then Leah sniffed, I thought she had kicked a rock or stubbed her toe because I couldn't hear her running, and then Omelette was howling and I tripped on something, and then Omelette came over to me and I knew Abby wouldn't leave Omelette. She never leave Omelette, so I stood up and, "You tripped too?" one of the cops asked. "Too?" Abby ran everywhere. She couldn't die from tripping. Leah nodded, and a detective in a neat suit and wool coat glanced at her over the rim of her glasses. Leah nodded. It took me a minute to get up, and Omelette came over. Leah's dad talked to the cops while her mom herded her to the car. Abby ran all the time, Leah said softly, an ache that had nothing to do with her wounds spreading through her. She wasn't supposed to be running, Leah's mom said. Her arm was tight around Leah's shoulders, and her lips were set in a hard, thin line. You shouldn't have been out either. Sorry. Her mom sighed and hugged Leah to her side. No, it's fine. I'm just glad you're okay. They passed a crowd of onlookers, old neighbors bundled up in dressing gowns beneath puffy coats, and people on the way to work clutching travel mugs in their hands. Nothing worth gossiping about ever happened in Lincoln, but an ambulance and a cop car at dawn must have been worth talking about. Leah tucked her face into her mom's shoulder so senselessly as Mom stroked her hair and tucked her into the back of their car. Her poor parents. I was just talking to her mom yesterday, and for Abby to just... Leah could still remember the soft thrill in Abby's voice as she told Omelette that maybe they would run a little. It's not Abby's fault, Leah said quickly. Even if she wasn't supposed to be running, it's not her fault. Her mom reached back from the front seat and took her hand. Of course it isn't. It's just so senseless. She had so much ahead of her. She just got that full ride, you know, and now... I don't want to do this, Leah said. I don't want to talk about this. Her stomach dropped. How could she have been so jealous of Abby? She was terrible. Her dad opened the door and climbed into the driver's seat before her mom could respond. Home first, and if your head starts hurting, the hospital, got it? Leah nodded. Once home, she stayed curled up in her room, half asleep for the next 3 days. The ache didn't vanish, but the roar in her ears that rose whenever she thought about Abby kept the silence at bay. She talked with Jim a lot, and she texted a bit with Devin. Even Ben called to keep her company. By the time Abby's funeral was only an hour away, Leah was trapped between a nausea-inducing dread and a sharp, stabbing fear in the back of her mind of facing the rest of her Lincoln. She had been avoiding the news and the internet. She didn't want to know what was being said. Hey, Jim said as they met up outside Abby's church. You okay? Everything felt muffled and distant, as if Leah were watching the possession, alone and drowning beneath the thin veil of water. Don't leave me. Never, Jim said. Leah managed a weak smile. Come, May. Everyone was leaving with plans and dreams. Everyone except Abby. Leah sat at the back, Jim on one side and her parents on the other. People milled about whispering to each other. The casket was closed and Abby's parents were sequestered behind the privacy of a sheer curtain that did nothing to block the sound of them crying. Omelette's soft huffs peppered the proceedings. Abby's mom spoke, then Georgia, and then one of Abby's colleagues at the vet's office where she volunteered. Leah couldn't cry. She stared at the dark wood of Abby's coffin and kept a tight grip on Jim's hands. Most of the school had come, and Leah could feel the stares. I wonder why it's closed, someone whispered behind Leah. Someone chuckled. I heard she cracked her head open. I bet they couldn't fix that. It's stupid, the other person muttered back. A runner tripping to death? A rushing sound filled her ears. Omelette's ahoo echoed through the room. Someone cracked their knuckles, bones snapping, breaking. Leah's like Abby's. It hadn't been branches. None of the sounds she heard that morning had been branches. Leah leapt to her feet and ran out of the church. Her hands shook as she pushed open the doors. Her feet thudded across the marble entry hall, and she shoved her way into the cold. Leah collapsed on the top step of the stairs leading down to the street and pressed her hands against her eyes. The dark behind her eyelids was the same dark in Abby's dented head. The sunlight burned. The door opened behind her. 2 sets of footsteps stopped next to Leah, Devin and Jim. "You're breathing too fast," Devin said. There was no judgment in his voice, and his fingers brushed her hands. "Try to control it." Leah drew a short, shuddering breath through her nose. "How can I control it when something as simple as tripping killed her?" "Okay, don't think about that part," Devin said. "I need a distraction," Leah said. "I need to do something. I can't sit still. I can't stay home. I just can't think because I'll end up thinking about her and what they're saying. If they're saying that stuff here, what are they saying at school when they're alone?" "They're saying they're scared," Jim told her. "They're saying they're sad. They're saying the world doesn't make sense. They're saying the game isn't tainted because Abby was excited about playing and now she can't. They're sobbing in school bathrooms and needing parents to come pick them up." Jim sat next to Leah. "They are not those 2 idiots who were sitting behind us." Leah pulled her hands from her eyes and took a slow breath. "I don't have anything to do. I don't have anything to think about. They excused me from school, but I can't not think about Abby if I'm thinking about nothing." "Does that make sense?" "Sort of," Devin said. "You had a lot of knots in there." I did." Leah sniffed and laughed, and the sound ripping out of her throat until she wasn't sure why she was laughing at all, but it was all she could do to keep from crying. Leah covered her mouth with her hands. "I need something to do," she said. "I need something to fill up this space in my head, or else Abby will fill it up." "Talk to me about something. The game. Is anyone out?" Devin sighed. "They were considering banning the game. The school isn't in charge of it," Leah said. "How could they cancel it? Anyone found playing would get in-school suspension." Devin wiped Leah's cheeks with his hands and flicked a damp eyelash aside. "My mom said the PTA brought it up. I bet half of them were those bushy bodies speculating on what happened before your parents got you out of the park," Jim said. "The news even interviewed them." Leah rubbed her nose. "I saw them when I was leaving." "Why were you following Abby?" Devin asked. "We made a deal. I wanted to see what path she would take so we could set up there when the deal was done," Leah said. "I didn't want to come back and have nothing." Jim laid their cheek against the top of Leah's head. "You want to keep playing assassins? What else do I have to do? What else do I have if I don't?" Leah asked. "Why was I even there if not?" "I think you have a lot, but I don't think you'll listen to me when I say that," Jim said. "I'll keep playing, but no more early morning solo runs, okay?" Leah nodded. "I don't think I can go back in there." "I'll tell your parents," Devin said, squeezing her hand before heading back into the church. "Yeah, I don't blame you," Jim said once he was gone. "It was really stuffy, not enough dogs. There should have been a lot more," Leah said, "like 15 minimum, and then people could have adopted them. Abby would have liked that." "She would have," Jim said. "I know you want to keep playing the game, but please don't do anything else that could get you killed. You're my best friend, and I love you." Leah relaxed against Jim. "I love you too," she said. "No more dangerous things, I promise." That is the end of this chapter. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.